$1 a ticket.
So Jan, for the, when you, on the June 21st, when you have the bands, will there be a place for people to dance if they want to do that?
It's a wonderful park. There will be room.
Yeah, room
I mean,
for them.
we're not
Yeah.
going to use a stage. We'll use
Yeah.
the flat pavers.
Mhm.
And
That'd be cool.
I think it'll be something we can celebrate. The pandemic is maybe at a slower pace, and maybe it's time to hopefully dry out your raincoats and put away your umbrellas, and maybe we'll have some good weather. That's the one thing the U.S. Navy asked, that we promise that they'll be dry. And
Right.
we're going to put up a canopy just in case it rains.
I think the deputy mayor had something.
I'm sorry to be, I'll be missing it because I'll be at the AWC conference in Vancouver, but I just want everyone to know that this was Jan's idea. She brought it to the city, and it's done all over the world the same day.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing, program. It's grown every year. It has grown. And thank you so much for bringing this to us. It's perfect because it's at the end of the school year, beginning of summer, and even the days that you've done it and it's rained, and it's still been a great
People
event.
have danced in the
Yep.
rain at these festivals. It's surprising to me, but delightful. Yeah, just before the pandemic, 100 orchestras in China played Ode to Joy, and that's free and in public to celebrate the solstice, the first day of summer. And in Australia, they kicked it off at the Sydney Opera House with Verdi, again, dedicated to the solstice, the summer solstice. And we have several areas in Gig Harbor, Issaquah, and Seattle are all doing Make Music on the same day. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Jan.
Okay, Susan Strong.
Mayor Farrell, City Council. Yikes. I'm glad you're not as short as I am. A week or so ago, someone who's a friend of mine went to the Performance Center at the Federal Way Performing Arts and Entertainment Center. This unnamed person uses the disabled parking places provided by businesses for people who have a disability that limits or impairs the ability to walk or involves acute sensitivity to light. This lady cannot walk very far due to her particular health problem. She was unpleasantly surprised to find that all 8 handicap parking places were already occupied by the time she got there. She observed that there were also 9 parking spaces reserved for hybrid and low-emission vehicles. One of these spaces was open, but she couldn't park there because she does not own a low-emission vehicle. As it turned out, it took her 25 minutes to walk from where she parked her car to the front door of the PAC. When I heard what happened to this lady, I was appalled. Knowing that I would be coming to the city council to let you know about this, I did a little research. As I already stated, the purpose of a handicap parking space is so someone with a disability that limits or impairs their ability to walk may park close to the front of the building. The purpose of a hybrid and low-emission reserve parking is to give energy-efficient cars preferred parking and to reward carpools and hybrid cars with special parking as an incentive to lower pollution. The city of Federal Way does deserve credit for providing a total of 8 handicap parking places. I did a little research and it shows they really only needed to provide 4. Further, I researched the Federal Way Community Center. They have 9 handicap parking. The Federal Way School District admin building across the street has 10 handicap parking. City Hall has 6 handicap parking. Courthouse has 2 handicap spaces. None of these offices that I just listed has any hybrid and low emission vehicle reserved parking spaces. I have one question. Why do we need 9 parking spaces reserved for hybrid cars? I suggest they be reassigned as handicap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll actually look into that. Brian, would you look into that? And let's, next meeting, Susan, we're at the very next council meeting. You'll hear a report on that. Thank you very much. Jeffrey Tancredi.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Jeff Tancredi, resident of Federal Way, 25 years. Beginning in September this fall, the Federal Way Public Schools will of sexual education for K through 5. This law opens the door for someone who may have a certain agenda. Let me first say that I applaud the teachers out there. You're doing a fantastic job. Unfortunately, there are some forces behind the scenes that have an agenda. It's just a fact. Laid out in this book, Race to the Bottom by Luke Rosiak. By the time you get to chapter 3, you're going to be very upset of what you read. So this law opens the door for a teacher who may have some political agenda about gender, transgenderism, and any other ideology, pushing it onto a first grader. This is happening in schools all over America. If it's not in Federal Way yet, it could. We don't want this here. Some laws are just not good and should be revoked. Meanwhile, our students score very low on standardized tests. Our schools rank in the bottom 20% academically versus all other schools in Washington. When you break the numbers down by race, African American students, Native Americans, and Hispanics score in the lowest percentile compared to Caucasians and Asians. Yet the public schools in Washington State and in the entire country fail to address these low scores. Year after year after year after decade, African Americans continue to score in the lowest percentile, but it's never addressed. This can't continue. Instead, they're pushing diversity, equity, inclusion. This is nothing more than a smokescreen to hide the failures to properly educate students. Again, it's all in here. The public schools are pushing and teaching that one race is inferior to another. This is disgusting. And sexualizing our kids. None of this has anything to do with earth science, algebra, auto mechanics, chemistry. It's indoctrination. That's what it is, by the left. It's a fact. The public school system in America has failed several minority groups, particularly African Americans. At every turn, they use African Americans as pawns, P-A-W-N, they use them as pawns in order to gain a political advantage. So I recommend parents take a look at homeschooling for the fall. There's a Facebook page, Washington Homeschool Organization. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ron Walker. You know, I forgot our new rule. Ron, before we set the timer, I forgot we've got the new rule that we're asking people to just say what city or town they live in. We don't want your address. We've got it on the form, but I forgot to do that. So, Ron.
Ron Walker, City of Federal Way. The human skeleton contains 206 bones, including 5 critical lumbar spine vertebrae. The skeleton is the foundation on which the muscles and the organs are attached. And just as the skeleton is central to the body, so is the downtown core, which is central to our city. And in our city, the emerging skeleton of downtown is 21st Avenue South. Honorable Mayor, City Council, please allow me to bring to your attention today the future downtown construction project known as the DIP. This Overstreet Bridgeway will connect 2 important aspects of our city, 21st Avenue South and the mall properties. This bridgeway will be critical to connecting these 2 aspects, as the lumbar spine vertebrae are to connecting the upper body to the pelvis and legs. This Overstreet Bridgeway, called the DIP, will be a major undertaking for our city. However, we're used to big endeavors. Let me remind you of a piece of history. In 1997, Castle Adult Superstores came to our city with plans to put a mega adult store in the Silo building, which was behind the Outback Steakhouse. But the city council made the big decision to put a moratorium on the development. And in the end, that moratorium proved to be invaluable because the development never came about. And now, in that very place stands the current high-functioning transit center. The center is a critical piece to the emerging downtown and ties perfectly with sound transit. None of this would have happened had the city not had the foresight and the gumption to make that critical call. Earlier in 1990, visionaries incorporated our city. That was obviously the most important step in our city's history. I believe that we are at a threshold of the second most visionary step for our city. Just as the big step of incorporating gave birth to a new city, so that the bridgeway of the dip will also give birth to a new downtown. Deciding to develop it will take the same foresight and gumption. There are many variables to developing a downtown, most of which will be out of your control. However, you can lay down the scaffolding on which the downtown will be built. You lay down the scaffolding, the bones of the city, and the rest will follow. In the words of a well-known baseball movie, if you build it, they will come.
Thanks, Ryan. Great analogy. Great metaphor. Thank you. Betty Taylor.
Good evening, council, citizens. I was sitting in the back and I was thinking about, my mind just went back to when I first came to the city council. I remember myself coming behind the podium, and at the time, 3 of you guys were on the council. It was Jack Dobie, Linda Coachmar, and Jim Farrell, but he wasn't mayor yet. He was just a council member. Back in my mind, I can remember me coming talking about how the mall needed those scooters. I remember bringing that to the city council's attention, but not knowing that the city council couldn't do nothing about it. I had to deal with the mall, and stuff like that. But but anyway, what happened was the mall did get scooters after a long while. And I can appreciate the fact that for me, I find coming to the city council, I find this as an open forum for myself where I could come, express myself without somebody shutting me down, closing me out, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, but I feel relaxed. I feel like I could come and say anything. I mean, really, I feel comfortable. And I have a relationship with all you guys, which I cherish to the uttermost. And I said, whoa, I wasn't going to say anything about it, but I said, well, yeah, let me just go say something. Because, even though it's been years, but it's still the same. I could come and talk, and whether laugh or cry, y'all just listen. But you don't just listen, but you do act too. So it doesn't go to deaf ears. So whatever we bring to this podium and whatever we say, know this, they hear you. They hear you. They won't shut you out. So, I just appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate the work that you do for this city. Appreciate how you represent us. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, now we've got, Susan, I've got an answer for you, but we're going to do it after we hear from Cy Sam, who's on the line digitally. Cy, can you hear me?
I actually don't,
I don't think I've ever seen him move that fast. Wow.
Mayor, I actually don't see her on the line yet, so unless she's on under a different name. I don't
Well,
know
why
if
don't
she's
we have,
connected.
we'll have the runner back there work on this and let me
Okay.
know. And to answer to Susan's question, or EJ. EJ, can you tell, in regard to Susan Strong's question, for everybody, remember, she just spoke a few moments ago about I do have a piece of advice there, but about the parking for the hybrid and low emission vehicles. EJ, and EJ Walsh is our Public Works Director, you guys.
Yeah, so and in a past life, I was also the project manager for the construction of the Performing Arts Center. So there's two main reasons that the parking out there is the way it is. One, that building was built under a newer building code than all the other facilities that were listed. So the building codes have changed. And as they've changed over time, there's become a requirement for spaces for hybrid at the state level to incentivize that. So that creates the base requirement. The real reason there's the number out there that there is, though, is the city pursued getting that building LEED certified, which is a environmental certification. And as part of that certification, we were required to provide that number of spaces to push and to promote low emission vehicles. As part of the LEED certification process in that agreement, those are not spaces that can be removed or restriped. So those are there. So the only parking that could be converted to ADA would be free or undesignated spots that are out there today. But to your point, they would not be the closest to the door.
Let's ask a question though, because if this had been a loved one of mine or a friend of mine, I would have advised him just to take that spot. Would that be? I mean, that's what I would advise somebody to do. But was that allowed? And I think actually our deputy mayor has something to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that would come down to a decision of the PAC management, whether or not they want to enforce it. But realistically, I don't want to advocate for telling people to park in hybrid designated spots if they don't have the right vehicle. But certainly, if they went in and talked to the box office, I'm sure there would be some understanding there.
Yeah, would you, at a minimum, what I would say is, and we've got a couple of judges in the back of the room, but gentlemen, would you please? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But Susan, what I would say is if they encounter that again, they should park. If all of the spots are taken and those are the only ones, they should park there and tell the people at the front desk. That's what I would tell someone that was close to me.
Mayor.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, right after the Deputy Mayor.
So the parking lot where Azteca is located has the parking, they have some handicapped parking spots, and they're also for cars who want to hook up to electric.
Yeah.
And they're dual, so they could be used for both. So I don't know why we couldn't use the ones at the PAC for both, as long as they're still designated for cars that are low emission.
Well, yeah.
But
yeah.
I can say, as someone who has had difficulty walking since May of 1990, I have not gone into a store or a building if I can't find handicap parking, if I'm not having a good day walking. And I know other people are the same way. So it is a concern. And I'm sorry that your friend had such a hard time. I feel for her.
So are we all. And that story is a horrible one about the 25 minutes. We're sorry to see that. But in the future, just let our staff know that we'll take care of it. EJ, were you going to say something? Or okay, well, let's look into that suggestion. And then we've got Councilmember Asefa Dawson. Councilmember?
Yes. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Honda. That was one of my comments. But my concern then is, as we're seeing more and more hybrids, how are we going to control that? Because that's the future. So are we going to continue to require those parking slots when you have hundreds and hundreds of those cars that that are going to fight for that spot? Or is it going to go away and not even become a requirement? Do we know the future of
Right. Yeah, they're going to stop.
parking spots for hybrid?
I think they're going to stop selling gas automobiles in about 10 years. But EJ?
2030 is
Right,
the year
yeah.
Washington State has
Yeah.
chosen. So hybrids are certainly entitled to park in the non-designated spots as well, council member. It is an incentive. It's in the building code, so it's not necessarily something the city can say it just goes away. That would be a state level decision. As of right now, I'm not aware of any conversation to remove it. To the contrary, most of the conversation is actually to encourage additional green infrastructure and green parking. So I think the state is kind of pushing it the opposite way as opposed to reducing it.
It's good discussion. Maybe it's something that we can, I think we've come on to a very interesting and timely discussion, and perhaps we can talk about this at a later session. But I wanted to make sure you got that answer right away. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Is Cy Sam on the line?
No, she's not connected to the meeting, Mayor.
Okay, if we hear from her, she did sign up. If sometime during the meeting, if there's some reason why she couldn't join in, just let us know and we'll hear from her. Okay, if we get notice. Okay, I no longer have any other pink sheets. Is there anybody else who'd like to address the council? Okay, hearing none, thank you all very much for your public comments. The most important thing we do during our meetings here. All right, now we've had public comment. Oh, Deputy Mayor?
I almost hate to make this suggestion because I see so many people in the back, but the children are here for the arts contest. I was wondering if we could move them up before the proclamation.
Just going to suggest, I'm teasing. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
Sometimes we think a lot.
Exactly. Let's do that. So let's, let me see here. I got to put on my glasses to do this. Item D, is there any objection to doing that? Taking item D out of order? I think that's we've got young students here, young artists here. This is item D, recognition of municipal court student art contest winners. We've got our recreation coordinator, Cassie Swan, along with our two esteemed judges, Judge Dave Larson and Judge Brad Bales. Cassie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us here tonight. We are very excited to be bringing back our Arts Commission and in partnership with Municipal Courts, the Student Art Contest. We had 15 submissions this year, which is pretty great, I think, considering we have had a break for a couple of years. And this was started by Judge Larson back in 2009. And as I recall, he may elaborate, but he started this as a way to make family court a little more welcoming, a little less scary for those going through a court proceeding. And so it's kind of a neat way to get students thinking about the theme, what liberty and justice means to me. And so with that, we would like to recognize the participants that we had this year. I'm going to turn it over to Judge Larson.
Thank you. Thank you, Cassie, and thank you, council members. And Susan Honda was on the Arts Commission back in 2009 when it was originally formed. Also want to recognize the Vice Chair, Karen Brigado, and Commissioner Jan Barber, if you stand up and be recognized. They're on the Arts Commission. They actually do all the work, and then Judge Bales and I get all the credit. So, anyway, they do the screening and everything of these recipients. And then the other thing I want to do is we had an agreement with all the students in there that if they come in here, we got to be quiet. And so I want to give them a round of applause because they were actually doing a great job. And so one of the things that originally started as liberty and justice for all, because one of my corny sayings is the reason the Pledge of Allegiance ends with liberty and justice for all, because you can't have one without the other. And that's absolutely true. You can't have liberty without justice, and you can't have justice without liberty. So in addition to what Cassie said, the idea is to have people connected, coming from the school board and going in to be a judge, as the school system and students connect with some of the founding principles we have, which liberty and justice and liberty itself is so essential to our being as human beings individually and as our government bodies. So and if anybody wants to come down and look at the past recipients, the artwork, it's still there for years. All the students and parents were able to go through and look at those and got a tour of the court. Each of them got a picture in a robe, and this one right here, you're going to be a lawyer and a judge, and other people too. So it's always fun to have this, and it's just great to have it back. And so Judge Bales has agreed to be Vanna White no, just kidding. But I wanted to get him up here and talk, but he'll do it next year. So, but what we're going to do is bring up the recipients and have them be recognized. And so I'm going to bring up a brother and sister duo, and that's Theo and Avery Benfer. Theo and Avery, come on up.
Yay.
And they participated this year. Excellent. So go to Judge Bales and then shake his hand.
Oh.
And then stay up here with us. Stay right here. You're in the center of attention now. Hey, Theo, come on over. There you go. And then right here, you can stay right here with us. And then George Z. George, come on up, George. Come on. And who went to Mirror Lake again? Who's going to Mirror Lake? We'll get to that because I went to Mirror Lake. So this year, our third place recipient is Roshne, right? Roshne, Roy. Come on up. And you go to Mirror Lake, don't you? You go to Mirror Lake? You go to, no, Lake Grove. Okay, that's where my wife went. Excellent. Second place, Sophia Esten. And I'm going to have her sister stand up because she was the winner in 2014. Her artwork is still there. She's graduated from college now. And then finally, our first place recipient, Trinity Stacy. Trinity, come on up. Again, we very much appreciate the Arts Commission and the work they do and all the students here. And I don't know if you want pictures, Mayor, do you want to keep your meeting?
You know, what'd be great is maybe we could have all the kids line up here, and then we get the council to stand up behind them on the dais, and we get the parents and maybe Cassie, if you could take a picture as well. Yeah. All right, you guys, we just stand up and just come on this way if that's okay.
Come on down.
Congratulations, you guys.
Actually, let's just get rid of that. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and Bill, yeah, there we go.
Commissioners, Karen and come on up later.
Karen and Jan.
Karen and Jan, come on up.
Oh,
Oh, let in. Yeah.
With me in here, you need a wide angle.
All right, congratulations. Thank you.
Good
Thank
job. Judge Larson, I'm wondering if you could put that, so their artwork on, a picture and get it up on, so we can see. Thanks.
Are you okay?
oh, yeah, I didn't want to.
Okay.
Difficult first.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Because I almost did last time.
Yeah. It'd be bad. This is so good. I told Benny I was going to make him pancakes tomorrow morning. I make breakfast every morning.
I'm just doing
Hot mic. Okay, now we're back on track. Thank you and congratulations, everybody. Thank you, judges. Thank you, winners. Great job. All right, presentations. Item A, Proclamation National Police Week, May 11th through 17th. Deputy Mayor Honda to Police Chief Andy Wong.
It's not working. All right, thank you for being here, and it's my honor to read the proclamation for National Police Week. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Federal Way Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and died in the line of duty, including 2 members of our police force. And whereas the names of those dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. And whereas 619 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 472 officers killed in 2021 and 147 officers killed in previous years. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 34th Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2022. And whereas this is part of the National Police Week, which will be observed this year, May 11th through 17th. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Now therefore, be it resolved that the City of Federal Way will observe May 11th through 17th, 2022 as National Police Week in Federal Way, and we publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and communities across the nation. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Council President Kochmar, Deputy Mayor Honda, members of the council. On behalf of the Police Department, I want to thank you for recognizing National Police Week. Your words and your support mean a great deal to the men and women in law enforcement. We are grateful of the hardworking, dedicated officers who sacrifice their safety day in and day out to protect our communities. 2021 surpassed 2020 as the deadliest year for law enforcement in United States history, with an unmatched number of officers who lost their lives in the line of duty, 472. We are grateful for these brave men and women, and we will never forget the ultimate sacrifice they made for our nation. Again, thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you to our law enforcement personnel, our officers who are here today. Thank you for the work you do every day on our behalf. Appreciate it. Okay. Item B, Proclamation, Public Works Week, May 15th through the 21st. Council President Kochmar.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So EJ Walsh, can you go to, thank you, EJ. So this proclamation, Public Works Week, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Federal Way, Washington. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, equipment operators, skilled labor, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Federal Way, Washington, to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, Be It Now. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Federal Way will observe May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as National Public Works Week in Federal Way, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, equipment operators, skilled labor, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Signed the 17th day of May by the Federal Mayor and all city council members.
So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council President Kochmar, Deputy Mayor Honda, members of council. On behalf of the Public Works Department, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. This year's national theme is Ready and Resilient, and specifically to observe the importance of public works in an organized society, shedding light on the brave and essential role that the public works employees play in our daily lives. It's a mouthful and I couldn't memorize it. But we mostly try and stay out of the limelight and make things happen in the background. On a daily basis, we're responsible for the most expensive asset that the city owns and operates. It's our city road system. So on a very conservative basis and a very low cost estimate, it's valued at over $4.5 billion just within the city limits.
Wow.
That's what we operate on a daily basis. We also, of the 9,636 requests that have been submitted through Eyes on Federal Way, as of today, Public Works has received 5,343 of them, which is more than every other department in the city combined. So, you know, we're the group that just makes things happen in the background, and I'm proud to be a part of that group with this city. The second half of the focus this year is on equity. So we're have an internal focus on creating equity in the programs we operate every day, and making sure we identify where the problems in our infrastructure is on an equal basis, and making sure there's a pathway for anyone in the community to reach out to us. So I do want to thank the council for the conversation at the last LUTC meeting around the NTS program specifically. That's a lot of what we're working on this year. And, you know, as much as we try to be a Monday through Friday, we're not 8 to 5, we're more like 6:30 to 5. But department, reality is we're ready 365 days a year. This year we got to work both Christmas and New Year's. So with that, I would like to, on behalf of everyone in the Public Works Department, say thank you to the council for recognizing all their hard work.
Thank you, EJ. Okay, item C, Proclamation, Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2022. Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm glad that City of Federal Way is recognizing this month as Mental Health Month, as we've done in the past. And I'm really grateful that we do acknowledge. Unfortunately, we're all seeing that mental health is rising, and COVID was also no help for people to really, more people were now experiencing mental health. And so I think this is an area that we really need to pay attention to. But not only am I concerned about children or family members, but also the caretakers of those that are struggling with mental health. So when someone is affected, it affects the whole family, which also in turn affects the whole community. So making notice of that is very important. With that, the recipient today for the Mental Health Month Proclamation is King County Recovery Center, and for that, Laura Van Tosh, convener of Mental Health Roundtables here. So I'm going to read the proclamation, and Laura, you can say a few words, please. Proclamation, Mental Health Month. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas with early and effective treatment, these individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full productive lives, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation and in our community, and whereas it's important to learn the symptoms of mental illness in order to get help when it's needed, and whereas every person can make a difference in helping end silence and stigma that for too long has surrounded mental illness by promoting mental wellness and support prevention efforts, and whereas public education and civic activities can encourage mental health and help improve the lives of individuals and families affected by mental illness. Now, therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council of the City of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2022 as Mental Health Month, and call upon the community to increase awareness and understanding of the importance of mental health and support the need for accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Thank you very much. And Laura, you have a few words to say?
Well, we don't have Laura here.
Oh, she's here on the Zoom.
Oh, on the Zoom. Okay, sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
And there was somebody else.
Good evening.
Hi, Laura.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to sit in on your city council meeting, learn quite a bit about what's going on, and I'm honored to be here representing the King County Recovery Coalition, which is based out of Seattle. The mission statement of the Recovery Coalition is to advance substance use recovery and mental health wellness, by catalyzing public understanding and public policy innovation through community partnerships. So it's apt that I'm here as part of your community, at least this evening, helping to support Mental Health Awareness Month. Very pleased that Mental Health Awareness Month is the month of May. It provides our youth with a huge number of opportunities to learn about their own mental illness or their own mental health awareness. Also, the BIPOC community, which oftentimes is forgotten as we shape policy and create services. And so this month really helps to open doors to mental wellness. On a personal note, it wasn't too long ago that I suffered a mental health crisis and was homeless for a period of time, also intersected with the criminal justice system. And while I worked in the field for over 35 years, I found that we have a long way to go to improving not only our understanding, but the treatment and services that we offer. So I want to just say that in the state of Washington, our local communities, our counties, and cities are going heads and shoulders above what our expectations have been to make improvements in our system of care, to add important quantitative services and programs that are necessary for recovery. And so I want to acknowledge the work that we're doing to develop permanent supportive housing, because without housing, there's really no place to recover. And so I just want to recognize your work and thank you very much for acknowledging this important month in our calendar. And hopefully you'll be hearing more about mental health as the month rolls forward. So thank you again, Lydia. Thank you, City Council President Dawson, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Laura.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Marco Saudi. I'm a City of Federal Way resident, and I'm a recovery. I'm an individual in long-term recovery. I'm a recovery advocate. I'm also part of the advisory board for the King County Recovery Coalition, and this is huge. I just want to thank you all. This is huge. Taking a humane approach is really moving forward into the right direction. There is no difference, very complex when we see kiddos struggling with depression, suicide ideation, when we see the homeless population, when we see those people struggling with addiction. There is no distinction. This is a huge, huge issue that we all together need to embrace as a village. And taking this step means a lot. As an individual in recovery, with long-term in recovery, I'm really happy and honored that the town I live in has taken such a step. You and I, Mayor, share time on our fields with the kiddos, coaching and whatnot, and that's the best thing we can do. That's the best thing we can do. Be a role model. Be a role model, and we do one thing: put recovery first. Us individuals dealing with that. It's not one day type of event. Recovery is an ongoing process. As I say, for those kiddos dealing with depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses, the same for those individuals that we tend to chastise, we tend to demonize. It's the same struggle. So I applaud the decision taken by all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and thank you very much for your work. All right, item E, Misdemeanor Probation Association, MPA Probation Supervisor of the Year to Stacy Scarpacci. We've got Judge Dave Larson and Judge Brad Bales. It's just kind of a fun name to say, Scarpacci.
Yeah, that's a So I believe Stacy's joining us on Zoom. I hope. Where would she be up on here or should she just be somewhere else?
Where's our
Hi,
run?
Judge. I don't know if you can hear me. I am on
There
Zoom.
you go. There's
Ah, there
Stacy
you
right
are.
there.
Hi, Stacy.
So is
Hi.
Tiziana on there too? Tiziana? Sorry about that. Well, Tiziana Giazzi is, Tiziana Giazzi and Stacy Scarpacci. And we're a lot of languages spoken in our court down there, but Tiziana is the one that nominated Stacy for the Misdemeanor Probation Association Supervisor of the Year. And I've known Stacy for quite some time. She was, Federal Way was pretty novel back in the day because we actually, and Jack and Linda and remember that, and even Jim remembers how probation worked. We had Providence Community Corrections where actually we received a check from probation from a probation company that did outside work. When that company decided not to do probation anymore, it was a no-brainer about who would be our new probation supervisor. And she is not disappointed, and she deserves everything, any kind of recognition that she can get. And T was able to get her nominated, and she received it. I was able to drive down to Vancouver and surprise her when she got the award. And Judge Bales, you have anything to add?
And Judge Larson, as Judge Bales approaches, T has joined us.
She has joined us?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But Brad Bales, Judge Bales?
Well, I'd just say that I've only been here for a few months now. As you know, I started just earlier this year, and it's been a great experience working with our probation department. A lot of times, because I just came from King County and Superior Court, and oftentimes people aren't supervised, and people are there's a risk assessment, et cetera, and there's a lot of excuses why people aren't put on supervision. That's not the case here in Federal Way. I think our probation office is very active, and with her lead, it seems to run extremely smoothly. And they do everything from attaching scram devices so that they monitor alcohol consumption for individuals that are being supervised, all the way to monitoring people for different treatment. And the atmosphere there is always one of help, and it's not one of overseeing. It's almost participating. And so I was really surprised when I first came to this position and got to interact with Stacy and her staff. And I just am now proud to be part of that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Judge Bales.
And Tiziana, do you have anything to say? Anything to add? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but I just did.
Oh.
You can tell this is unrehearsed, obviously. So maybe there's technical difficulties, but again, T is the court administrator now, and it's just she was there she is right there. So not hooked.
The mic's not. T, the mic's not working. Sorry.
Well, T's trying to figure that out. T was my first clerk when I became a judge. She was my first clerk, then she became the supervisor and then the court administrator. So she's another person that we rely heavily on. Why our court has gone from the way it was to the way it is. T and Stacy are significant parts of that. And so I don't want to take up the rest of the time, but T did a great job of articulating to the MPA why Stacy's so deserving. So Stacy, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to say I never got a chance to actually thank Tiziana for nominating me, nor did I get a chance to thank you for scaring me at the conference. That got a rather big shock. So thank you again for presenting it again tonight for me. But really, I gotta say it's to our staff. I mean, we all have an amazing staff at the court and probation services. It's a pleasure to get to work with all of you. So, and to be a part of this city. So just thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for your work.
And thank you, counsel, for recognizing the good work of Stacy. T, I think. No. Oh, we can't hear you, T. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, now we move on to item 6 on the agenda, the council committee and regional committee reports. First, we'll hear from Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee Chair, and that is Councilmember Walsh.
Yes, thank you. Sorry that I'm not able to be there in person with you this evening. I'm a bit under the weather. Anyway, you would not want me there. We had our last committee meeting a week ago this evening, and a couple of the items on the consent agenda are reflected from that meeting. Also, we had some groups who work with youth in the city who are wanting to be able to use some of the city facilities to help those youth. They made a presentation to us. We asked them to provide some more specifics, and they'll be providing some more specifics to the council on exactly what they would like, and so that we can explore if there's a way for the city and these groups to work together to help the youth. Our next committee meeting will be June 14th of next month, and that is my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Land Use and Transportation Committee, LUTC, Councilmember Dovey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On the consent agenda, we have a few items that went through LUTC that we'll be talking about. We also will be talking about some ordinances, I guess I'll call them council business, and about that we're doing in the city. I will be recusing myself on the ordinance number B because I do business with AT&T, and that directly affects my business. And then also we will be having our next meeting on the 6th of June, and we'll be setting the agenda shortly. So thank you all for being there, and we're continuing to fix potholes and put up stop signs.
Hear, hear. Finance, Economic Development, Regional Affairs Committee, FEDREC, Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next meeting is going to be on May 24th at 5 o'clock here at City Hall, and also available on Zoom.
Great.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Lodging Tax Advisory, excuse me, we just did that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to announce that we have the balance or composition of members needed to hold a meeting. So we're going to have our first meeting after how many months? On June 8th. And we also have staff. Our Brian Davis, our city administrator, is going to be staffing this committee until we hire a new economic development director. So I'm really excited that we're having this meeting next month. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Deputy Mayor and Regional Committees report.
Thank you. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry about that noise. So today I attended this skateboard meeting, and we had some interesting discussions. Over the weekend, if you rode transit in King County, you didn't have to pay for it because the vending machines were not working as they switched over to the new Orca system. So your Orca card still works, although you can get a new one, much improved one. And if you'd like more information, it's myorca.com. I would encourage you to go there to get more information about the new system and the new benefits of the system. We also had a really interesting report from Metro Transit on, it's called Safety, Security, and Fair Enforcement Reform Initiative, or SAFE Reform Initiative. Mitchell Lloyd is the Metro employee who is in charge of this initiative. And they talked about safety on the buses and water taxis and other things that Metro operates. One of the things that they talked about was an alternative approach for minor violations, including tobacco and smells. And so I asked Mr. Lloyd about our new ordinance on fentanyl and public use of smoking on the bus. And he wasn't didn't, I don't know that he was aware of that, but I did ask him what the first thing that a driver should do if somebody was smoking on the bus and smoking anything on the bus. And he wasn't sure what drivers are told to do. So he's going to get back to me because I am interested. I think that they should pull over immediately for the safety of everyone on the bus. I didn't know that no smoking on transportation is actually a state law, which I didn't realize that was the state is the one that has come up with that. So anyway, we also talked about zero emissions transit. Right now, there's 1,400 total buses, and 195 are zero emission buses. By 2028, they hope to have half of the total buses as low emission. And South King County is where they're going to have the new base in which the buses will charge. Right now, down in Tukwila, they have a test facility where they're testing out the zero emission buses. And that's where they go to charge right now and where they're doing all their testing, which was kind of cool. They also will have charging stations and layover locations for the buses around King County, and it looked like the Federal Way Transit Center is on the list of perhaps having a charging station for buses to lay over and charge overnight. Also, for the last 12 to 14 months, I've been working with the Board of Health in selecting the new public health director. Last year, sometime, I can't remember when, Director Patty Hayes retired, and she did a really amazing job for King County, Seattle Public Health. And so we talked about for months what we'd like to see in a public health director. And public health involves pretty much anything and everything, that from food safety to dog grooming, septic systems, healthcare, disease prevention, and much more than that. So anyway, my input many times was telling the folks who were going to be writing the job description that I really wanted the public health director to get out of Seattle and come out to South King County more, because King County is so large and so different, and public health needs are all over the county, not just Seattle. Anyway, last week I was honored to be on a panel to interview some of the potential new public health directors, and whoever is selected will do a really good job for us. And we should know in the next month or so who has been selected to be the new director of public health. On Thursday is a Board of Health meeting, and last year the state decided that public health committees should have a different makeup. They should have an equal number of private citizens to elected officials. And so we will be changing the King County Seattle Board of Health, and we will be in the next year or so, and we will be putting on an equal amount of private citizens. So there is a recruitment going on right now, and if you're interested, you can contact me and I'll talk to you about it. And tomorrow for council members, there is the second in a series of online classes for elected officials. It's called Elected Officials Essentials. This is a second in 5 classes. I'm signed up for it, so if anybody wants to take it, you can just get the information from me. I'm signed up for the whole series because I think it's something that it's good for new council members to people who've been on council for a while, to just review things that we should be doing and how we should be doing things. So let me know if you're interested in that. And last evening, council members Kochmar, Tran, and myself met with Brian Davis and Steve Groom to discuss the ARPA funds. So we've got your list, Councilmember Dovey, that you're interested in, and Councilmember Walsh's We're going to have another meeting next week, so if you have input for us, we'd love to hear it, and we will be coming up with a recommendation for council to discuss what should be funded by ARPA. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Council President Coach.
Well, there's not much left for me to say, other than with the ARPA funds, we had some questions about some of the funding requests. So we're waiting to hear those answers from staff. But for a public service announcement, I did have the opportunity to meet with some businesses this weekend. And you should know that catalytic converters are being stolen underneath vehicles 2:00 in the afternoon in parking lots where you shop. So just be aware that this is going on. It's still going on. It's a terrible thing. And then one other thing that's going on in our school, in a school district, I don't know necessarily in our school district, where vape products are being sold. And what parents should understand is that vape products, that's where you smoke out of the pipe. They think that's harmless, but they can cut that with that product with fentanyl. And so there was a student who was selling in one of our schools where some of the students got sick. Now, whether it was fentanyl or something else, I don't know, but just need to understand that what's happening with the smoking, it's not actually even with a pipe. What's happening is it's a piece of foil, aluminum foil, and they're heating that up and they're actually smoking from that. And so if you see squares of aluminum foil, don't pick them up because you never know what's been on them. But you just need to know what's going on and how things are changing so rapidly in our community, and our students are very much in tune with some of that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, now moving on to the consent agenda. These items have gone through committee, can be passed all at once, or I'll ask if a council member wants to pull an item for individual consideration. Item A, the minutes for the May 3rd, 2022 regular and special meeting minutes. Item B, commute trip reduction, CTR program agreement, King County. C, commute trip reduction, CTR program agreement, CTAC. D, authorization to apply for King County flood reduction grant. E, South Dash Point Road sidewalk improvements, project acceptance. F, resolution setting a public hearing date of June 21st, 2022 for the 2023 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Plan, the TIP. G, award on-call guardrail and concrete barrier services contract. H, Puget Sound Energy Commercial Electrical Facilities contract for traffic signals. And I, Sacagawea Park, Puget Sound Energy PSE easement for guy wires. Council, is there an item that a council member would want to pull for separate consideration? All right. Council President Coachmore.
Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda items A through I.
Second. It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, it passes unanimously. All right, now moving on to council business. Item A, resolution South 320th or 21st Avenue South Crossing feasibility study, AKA the DIP. Staff report, Cheney Skadson, our senior planner. Cheney?
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council President Coachmar, Deputy Mayor Honda, and the rest of the council. I'm Cheney Skadson, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department, and I am not sharing my screen. Thanks. And I'm here, put simply, to talk about whether we should study the possibility or feasibility of the DIP. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so not so simply, here's our policy question. Should the city council authorize the use of up to $100,000 in funds that is currently appropriated for the Community Development Department Planning Division operating budget, as well as $200,000 in uncommitted funds from the Sound Transit Capital Fund for a South 320th Street, 21st Avenue South crossing feasibility study? This here is imagery of the planned signalized intersection that will improve the non-motorized mobility across 320th Street. But it begs the question, is there possibly an alternative design, crossing design, that would be more convenient, easy, accessible, inclusive for pedestrians and bikers to cross South 320th Street. So with this feasibility study, we'd be looking to hire a consultant to conduct a study that would analyze our traffic modeling and our stormwater retention and, stormwater evaluation and recommendations, utility relocation, and then also identify any potential limitations. But I want to emphasize the traffic modeling component to this feasibility study because we acknowledge that there's potential traffic impacts from reducing the planned vehicular movement by studying this, and that the FEIS for the Federal Way Transit Station identified Pack Highway and 320th intersection with 21st as key intersections for future trips. So those will be heavily considered as part of this feasibility study. And then the deliverables will be a technical report and then hopefully a conceptual design. There is no new funds that will be required to complete this study. So there's really no financial impact, just reallocation of the existing $100,000 from community development and the Sound Transit Capital Fund. So as planners, our objective is to dream big and plan for places to be the best they can be. With that being said, this is the heart of Federal Way's downtown, and we do not want to leave a stone unturned. So using the comp plan as a starting point and getting direction from the council and the mayor, and understanding the desire for downtown Federal Way to be a recognizable destination and not just a transit stop. And in addition to considering the light rail arriving in 2024 that will greatly impact the activity that's happening downtown, we've talked to members of the community and have heard reoccurring themes about walkability and walkable streets and community gathering spaces. All this to say that we believe the request to authorize this study of the DIP is an opportunity to further the implementation of a downtown that's desired by the council and then also that the community deserves. So this slide is just some pieces cut out from the comprehensive plan. There's a chapter dedicated to city center. The vision emphasizes a balanced transportation network in our downtown and safe, efficient, and enjoyable pedestrian and bicycle networks. And as part of the 2015 comp plan, there was 2015 to 2035 implementing actions. And here, these two were mentioned: potentially construct the pedestrian overpass across 320th Street and build phase 1 of the city center pedestrian mall. And then also emphasize the linkages between transportation facilities, Celebration, and Steel Lake Parks and the Commons and surrounding communities. So here is a map of our target area. The star is the proposed location of dipping 320th at the intersection of 21st. On the colored map, you'll see that there are some pretty large spaces of color. Those are our major landowners in the city. So we've got the city itself and Sound Transit. And then we have an idea of some redevelopment certainty that's going to happen downtown. Change is coming, and the 320th barrier is not going to go away and may only get more difficult to address over time. So considering the Sound Transit surplus parcels that will eventually be up for development, the plan we're working on right now for TC3 that we hope will be developed in a timely manner and achieve implementing the vision for downtown, and also possibly with a major landowner being the Commons, we see this signature piece of infrastructure, or we see the need to get the right infrastructure done. And that will set up our downtown to be developed as an active, vibrant, and memorable place that's consistent with this vision. There's been a lot of great improvements downtown over the years, specifically along 21st Avenue. I think Ron Walker said it best: the potential future of the spine for our downtown. But with 320th, we have a lot, there's quite a barrier to a lot of area south of 320th. So these community assets like the Town Square Park and the downtown staircase up to the PAC and the Federal Way Transit Station aren't as accessible if you're coming from south of 320th Street. So with the emphasis on making our downtown accessible and inclusive, there's just an emphasis there. But back in January, we discussed a recipe for a vibrant downtown, and this list here is according to a 2005 study from the University of Wisconsin for successful downtowns. And these pictures here are quotes that were, or I don't know, comments that were written at our community open house in March. And we believe that the dip is the right ingredient for this recipe for a vibrant downtown, because it will connect these major areas that I spoke about on the last slide, and then also could catalyze the redevelopment for a desired outcome. So we see that this barrier of 320th is actually a great opportunity. By working to knit together downtown, we will have we could build a physical connection, but then also this piece of infrastructure could be a signature to our downtown. It could be that piece that identifies us among other South King County cities. And it will be we see this as being the force for which downtown redevelopment will shape itself around. Like I mentioned earlier, 21st has had a lot of improvements and assets built along it, but the dip is the right ingredient because it emphasizes the potential of transforming more along 21st when we were thinking of a promenade or a paseo along our downtown, and it can boost the redevelopment potential where the landing is that could be consistent with the desires of walkable downtowns and like retail shops, plazas, restaurant with outdoor eating, community spaces connected to trails and other walking. And then finally, and arguably the most important, the human scale element to this idea is the benefit of providing a massive opportunity for placemaking. That will transform this barrier into a gateway that strengthens the connection between people and places, and also people among themselves, being that this pedestrian-oriented dip could create an iconic community gathering space for memorable downtown. So I kind of already went over this in terms of what would be a part of the scope, but if authorized, we would be working on the feasibility study until about February and be evaluating the limitations until February, and be back to discuss in March. So in less than a year to talk about this, and then proceed with hopefully with construction. Any questions or comments?
Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. Well, I support this, and I support this because when we learned that we were having a transit station in downtown, we asked if we could have an overpass so people could, instead of having to be on the level of the cars on 320th, that they could be safe and walk overhead. And so that wasn't funded by Sound Transit. We certainly don't have the funding to do that ourselves. So this would be another way to keep people safe, because we know there won't be enough parking in the garage. People will need to park over at the old Park and Ride, and they're going to be crossing 320th. So I think this is an excellent thing to study, and I'm really interested to see if it's doable and possible. So thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilmember Duffy?
Yeah, my comment is this. I think this is a wise thing for us to do, to look at. I'm a little disappointed that the timeline 323, that seems like an awful long time to figure it out. And I would say to my council members here, we've had proposals for a maintenance facility a while back. We have a proposal today to relook at the downtown. We now have a proposal to look at the dip. We've heard about the mall being redeveloped. And we're talking like $100 million. And I think that's great because we need to do something like that to put Federal Way on the map. And so I just look at this as just one of the pieces, but I hope that we start saying, we got a lot of projects here and it's a big number. It's going to be a big number that we're going to be voting on sometime soon. And I would just challenge all of us to really open our mind and think like back in when Ron Gintz came forward, some of you were on the council, I don't know, I was, and he proposed spending money on overlay, spending money on Knutson Center, spending money on Celebration Park, and everybody go, oh, wow, that's $20 million. We can't do that. But now look at what we have here in Federal Way now. We have the great community center. We got a park. We got Knutson Center. We got great roads. And so this is just one piece of what we should really be talking about instead of piecemeal. I think we should link it all together, get really aggressive, and take this time and really build something that's great for downtown and Federal Way.
Great, thank you. All right, Council President Kochmar, do you have a motion?
I do. Thank you very much, Mayor. I move approval of the proposed resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passes unanimously. Item 9, first reading for 9A. It's Council Bill 824, Ordinance Sidewalk Repair, Construction and/or Reconstruction and Assessments. Don't worry, Stephanie, I'm not going to read the whole thing. So first we'll have a staff report from Desiree Winkler, our Deputy Public Works Director. Desiree?
All right, I have to find my presentation. Hold on. All right. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council President. Members of council. I thought I had that down. All right. I am here to present proposed ordinance change or proposed code changes related to sidewalk repair, construction and reconstruction and assessments. Policy question is, should council approve the revisions and additions to the city sidewalk code to provide process for sidewalk repair, reconstruction, and reconstruction and associated assessments? So the goal throughout the city is to have safe and reliable sidewalk system and minimize the liability. Our current code currently places responsibility for sidewalk maintenance, repair, and reconstruction on the abutting property owner if the damage to the sidewalk is caused by the abutting property owner's action or inaction. Most sidewalk damage is caused by adjacent tree roots. Property owners, when we have let them know that they're responsible for this, have requested if the city can make the repairs and they pay for it. Washington state law does authorize cities to do these repairs and assess the cost to the responsible party. So the proposed modifications to our code would include when the city notifies property owners if the sidewalk repair is their responsibility, the property owner would have 60 days to complete the repairs or request the city to complete at the property owner cost. The city property owner would execute a reimbursement agreement. This may include a plan for installment payments, and then city completes the repairs. If there's no timely action, city council can direct the city to complete the repairs and assess costs to the property owner or put a lien on the property. So the options considered are to 1, adopt the proposed ordinance for sidewalk repairs and assessment, or 2, do not adopt the proposed ordinance and provide direction to staff. And the mayor recommends option 1, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? All right. Is there any public comment?
I don't have anybody signed up, Mayor. Let me check real quick.
Thank you, Desiree.
Nope, I don't have anything.
I'm sorry?
I don't have anybody signed up, no.
All right, would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 824, ordinance, sidewalk repair, construction and/or reconstruction and assessments. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, modifying the city's sidewalk code to provide processes for sidewalk repair, reconstruction and/or construction, adding new section to Federal Way Revised Code 440025 to Chapter 4.40.
All right, Councilmember Dovey, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the June 7th, 2022 council meeting for second reading and enactment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Matter passed unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Desiree. Great job.
I do the second one too.
Oh, okay. All right. One of us is paying attention. All right, thank you. All right, and item B, before we get started, Councilmember Dovey is going to recuse himself.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion and vote.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, item B, Council Bill 825, ordinance amendment to new singular wireless PCS LLC franchise ordinance. And Desiree, you're up.
Good evening. The policy question before you today is, should council approve the amendment to the new singular wireless PCS LLC franchise ordinance? Background information, New Singular Wireless has an existing franchise for installation and operation of 6 macro wireless sites. This amendment would add 1 site and remove 2 sites. And again, macro sites are those large freestanding cellular towers. Sometimes they're co-located on wood poles. This map shows the 6 sites that would be part of this ordinance after the amendment is enacted. The new site they want to add is at 296th and 8th Avenue Southwest. And they call this one the Redondo Beach site. So the reason they need this or requesting this is because they have a gap in coverage. The map on the left shows the existing coverage, that the areas that aren't shaded in the, I don't know, what you call it, Kelly lime green, that just show the map are the areas where there's gaps where you don't get coverage. Once they add the site, the map to the right, the lighter color, yellowish green, is what the new tower would be able to provide in addition of coverage. So there are kind of 2 parts when they build these macro sites. The first part is the subject actually of the franchise, which is anything that is located within the right-of-way. So there is the arrow is pointing on the plan view to an existing PSE utility pole that would be replaced with a new macro facility. So it would still have PSE facilities, but the macro cell tower infrastructure would be added on top. The second part of constructing these sites are their equipment areas. This, in this case, includes generator, communication equipment, and power source. This is fenced in, locked on private property, and is required to have, again, fence as well as screening landscaping. This next drawing shows looking at the facility in elevation view. The left of the Doug fir tree is showing the existing PSE pole, which is tops out at about 38 feet. The new pole would be 55 feet with the lightning rod on top for a total of 60 feet. You can see the antenna array that would be placed at the top. And then on the ground where the equipment enclosure is, the tallest piece of that being the backup emergency generator. And again, the requirement for screening landscaping to be installed. So they received project approval through use process 3. Notice was mailed to the residents and property owners within a 300-foot radius of this proposal. Public comments that we received include concerns regarding health and safety, view reduction, property values, and generator noise. Staff reviewed the project, and it was consistent with their comprehensive plan and applicable code provisions. So the two sites to be removed from the franchise, they're not being removed, so to speak, but they are removed because they're not appropriately within the franchise. Franchises only cover infrastructure that are within city right-of-way, and these two sites are actually completely located on real property that the city happens to own. The first one being the site that's called the Aquatic Center site. It's located on the BPA Trail across from the Aquatic Center. The second site is called Steel Lake. It's located at Sacagawea Park off of 16th Avenue South. Both of them have separate lease agreements that they pay the city a monthly lease to be on these sites. There's no cost to the city for this proposal. New Singular Wireless paid an administrative fee of $2,000 to cover the staff time and professional services related to the development of this amendment. They paid a separate application fee for their land use approval, and in addition, they will be paying for a right-of-way and building permits for construction. Options considered are: 1, adopt the proposed ordinance, adding 1 macro wireless site, Redondo Beach, and removing 2 macro wireless sites. 2, do not adopt the proposed ordinance and provide direction to staff. And the mayor recommends option 1, to adopt the proposed ordinance. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? All right. Council President Kochmar, do you have a motion?
Thank you. I move to forward the proposed ordinance.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Cephedos had a question. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a simple question. Why remove the ones that are on city owned land? Why does it have to be on right of way? Just wanted to understand the logistics there.
Oh, absolutely. So franchise agreements are only for infrastructure that is located within the right-of-way. So anything that is not within the right-of-way but located on real property would be subject to a lease. So those two that are being removed should never have been in the franchise agreement to begin with. They always should have been only subject to a separate lease.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, and before I ask for that, is there any public comment to this?
No public comment, Mayor.
All right. And would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 825, Ordinance Amendment to the New Singular Wireless PCS LLC Franchise Ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, granting New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, a non-exclusive franchise amendment to occupy rights of way of the City of Federal Way, removing 2 sites and adding 1 new site to the list of authorized sites.
All right. Council President Kochmar.
Thank you. I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the June 7th, 2022 council meeting for second reading and enactment.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then Councilmember W recused. All right. It's unanimous, 6-0, 1 recusal. All right. Council reports, the second meeting. So we'll start with Councilmember W.
Yeah, just a short report here. One thing we didn't talk about on things that are coming up is the Marine Hills Parade. I think it's 50th year or something like that on Saturday. So it's kind of at the same time or close to when the South King County Scholar Athlete Fund auction is, but it's always a great thing. Fire trucks, policemen usually, and lots of swimmers. And so it's in Marine Hills. I think it's 50 plus years.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to mention is we heard about the Touch a Truck event, and I happened to have a chance to go there late. And I was amazed at just these parents walking in with their children, and it was all set up and everything was really great. So I started asking people, how did you find out about this? And people said, well, I saw it on the website. I got a mailer in the mail. So anyway, I just wanted to compliment the staff, whoever was behind this, or the mayor, for getting the word out, because it was kind of nice just driving up and then seeing these cars stop and kids jumping out with their parents and throttling down to the fire truck and jumping in the vehicle. And I just wanted to compliment the staff on a great, and the mayor's office and whoever else, great reach out because people really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Councilmember Walsh.
My voice is giving out, and so I'm going to say nothing more. Thank you, and thank you for putting up with me, and also Lydia, thank you for chairing the committee meeting last week in my place. Thank you very much.
All right.
Feel better, Jack.
Yeah, we feel.
I will. This COVID hit me hard. At least only 2 days more of isolation, and then I just need to get a little more strength back. So,
all right. Well, best wishes for a speedy recovery. Councilmember Trent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So earlier, you all heard the report from the Deputy Mayor Honda regarding the meeting between myself, Council President, and staff regarding the ARPA money. I just want to add that simply by looking at the number of the requests, I can tell you that it far exceeds the amount of money available. So I just want to mention that so that we kind of manage the expectation. So we will try to do our best to move this forward. But obviously, the money that have been asked is way more than what we can accommodate. So just want to mention that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Norton.
Okay, so I attended a Council on Foreign Relations meeting, Cooling the Planet Through Solar Reflection. And it was quite interesting because they allowed people who attended the meeting to ask questions. They were very, they were stressing the importance of trying to impede solar rays as much as possible, and at the same time that we need to get off of any kind of carbon usage and go straight to solar panels and solar energy. And so I asked, how does this make any sense? It was really nice that they let us ask questions. So they're asking for $10 billion to reflect solar rays, and at the same time, we all need to go to solar. So I said, so how are we going to do that if you're going to make us not have solar rays anymore? How are we going to get solar energy? But anyway, they said that this program will only reflect at most 1% of solar rays for $10 billion. And then I also asked them, what are the chemicals that they're going to be using? Because those are all going to be sprayed on us, and they refused to answer that question. So I think that we need to be a little bit concerned about that kind of stuff when the Council on Foreign Relations, which is one of the most powerful entities in our country, is asking us to give our tax money for things and are refusing to ask refusing to answer questions about something that's only going to be 1% effective if it works at all. Just a thought. And if anybody else is interested in that, feel free to contact me. I think it's just an interesting meeting, and I don't know if anybody else attended. I don't think anybody on the council did, but it was fun. Anyway, that's all.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Sepa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Norton, I do attend those meetings, and they're always interesting. That said, as you know, I'm not there. I'm actually in California, in Albany. I came down here for my daughter-in-law's graduation from Berkeley. She got her master's in public health. Anyway, something exciting happened over the weekend, and I just wanted to share. I have never ridden a bike before. I tried a tandem in the past, and it didn't work. But this time we had a special hand operated bicycle for me. So for the first time, I got to ride the bicycle around the lake with my family. So it was exciting, different experience. And I say this because usually I'm the one who drops them off and waits for them in the coffee shop, in the car, or something while they're doing this, and this time I got to be a part of it. So I'm looking forward to actually those experiences when I come back home. So yeah, something really exciting and enjoyable that I did. So with that, I end my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. Well, the mayor is probably going to have to say something about this, but I caught my first fish and I got a certificate. So right after I caught my first fish, guess who comes along? The mayor.
And caught one this big.
And mine was this big. It was so big that I shared it with a lot of other people so they could clean it and cook it because I didn't want to do that. That was fun. That was at Steel Lake, and we're going to have another Hooked on Fishing event coming up in June. This was a different organization that did this one, and so it's fun. You know, if your kids ever want to catch a fish, you know, usually I had to try for like 10 minutes because the fish just didn't like me, but well, I thought it was a long time. Anyway, that was fun. But apparently the mayor just put his pole in and the fish said, oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Blue Poppy Days is coming up this Saturday, and we haven't had Blue Poppy Days, you know, since 2019. So this is really, I would encourage anyone to go. It's at the Rhododendron Gardens, and it's free. So you get into the gardens for free. And it's sponsored by the Federal Way Arts Commission and Floriculture. The gardens, the Rhododendron Gardens, several years ago planted a meadow of blue poppies, and they're beautiful. They're really pretty. You can actually buy one to take one home and grow it. They're $8. They're about this big. And I did that years ago when we first started this, and I planted it, and my little toy poodle named Bella turned around, and she watched me plant it, and I turned around and she ate it. So that was the last time I bought an $8 poppy. But they're beautiful. You can buy them there. There'll be local artists. There'll be an art market. You can buy plants. There'll be musical and dance performances. Stack's food truck will be there. The Street Treats food truck will be there. And you can visit the bonsai garden, which is also free, although they do ask for a donation while you're there. So I would really encourage people to go, even if it's raining or, you know, the weather's not great, it's still a great event to go there. So it's from 10 to 4 and at the Rhododendron Garden on the Weyerhaeuser IRG property.
What day?
Saturday. And tomorrow we have a senior commission meeting, which is located here at City Hall from 2 to 4. Anyone's welcome to come and attend. The commission is working on a health fair for May of 2023, which is an exciting event. And then I'm going to read my last item. So when Weyerhaeuser Company left Federal Way, they had about 800 employees that were left here in Federal Way when they left for Seattle. Many people were concerned about what would happen with the 440 acres of beautifully managed property. The first thing that was proposed was the fish processing plant, and that didn't get very far. But what happened with that was kind of remarkable because there were 3 council members, myself, Deanie Duclos, and Kelly Maloney, who wanted a special council meeting so the public could discuss what was going on at the property. And not only was this room full, but downstairs was full. We let everyone who wanted to speak for 3 minutes, and we were there for hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours. And to me, that was pretty remarkable. It was the first time that I have, and the only time I've ever seen so many people wanting to comment on something in Federal Way. But then the other remarkable thing that happened was that there were a group of just normal people who stepped up and formed a committee called Save Weyerhaeuser Campus. And they consist of Deborah Hansen, Lori Brown, Jean Peretti, Cindy Flanagan, and Lori Seacrest. Plus they have some other board members. And I learned a lot from them. I learned if you really believe in something, fight really hard for it. And they did. And they did it with grace and they did it with dignity. I think they educated a lot of the public about the property and what could be and what couldn't be. And it's just very, I'm just really impressed by what they've done. So we recently, in the last couple of days, have had an announcement that Senator Claire Wilson has received $300,000 from the state to study the headquarter building and what can go in that building. They're talking about educational services, all sorts of stuff. And those are ideas that have been floated since Weyerhaeuser left. And so I'm really, really happy about this. I think it's a great turn of events. But I really wish and hope that the city is involved in this next step because we're really, this is our city. We're the leaders of the city and we've been working on what this property could be, what could happen at the property. We've been working with IRG, the new owners, and I'm really glad that Senator Wilson has secured the money for this study. But I do hope that the city is included in the next phase. And so I would also say that there's a lot of things that could be, and there's a lot of things that when I drive by and I look at the trees that are down and the first time I saw it, I was pretty upset. But I really respect the people, the Save Weyerhaeuser people. Suzanne Vargo has taught me a lot about North Lake. She's taught me a lot about the Hylabus, things that I wouldn't have known if this hadn't happened. Change happens and Federal Way is changing and the property is changing and it's just a part of life. It happens. I would tell folks that if you're concerned about the changes that are happening on the Weyerhaeuser property, I'm going to ask you to contact Sound Transit because the next change that's going to happen is just up the road from the Weyerhaeuser IRG property, and it's at the Christian Faith site where Sound Transit wants to bring in the maintenance operation and maintenance yard. And, we fought really hard for a couple of years to try to get that over at the Midway landfill. It's not a final decision yet. They're still studying it. So I would encourage the public, if you don't want to see that change happen, to have a voice and to let the Sound Transit Board know that the Midway landfill would be the better choice, or maybe they should start over again and find another site. So thank you, Lori, Deborah, Lori, Jean, Cindy, and Suzanne for educating me over the last 6 years. I appreciate it. And thank you for what you've done for Federal Way.
All right. Councilperson Kochmar.
Thank you. And it would have been nice to have been included in this planning for the Weyerhaeuser building because Deputy Mayor Honda and I had been at in Washington, D.C. in March at the National League of Cities Conference when Councilmember Seth Dawson, Deputy Mayor Honda, and I did go to our representatives, Murray Cantwell and Adam Smith, and asked them for money because we understood that the Biden administration had a program that would provide for community services within a building that would be a community meeting area and startups for businesses. And it would be nice if we were working together on issues like that for the betterment of our community. Anyway, thank you. I have no report other than that. Thank you very much, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Great job, everyone, for a job well done. And our business now is concluded. We are adjourned.
Night.
Good night, everyone.